Hey, what is going on, everybody? So welcome back to the Philly Sports Podcast. Today, I'm going to do a little bit something different for you guys. So I'm going to do a video on Major League Baseball as a whole and their umpiring crew. So as you read by the title and the thumbnail, I'm going to be discussing how bad has the MLB umpires been. They have been this season. So before we get started, so make sure if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button with the notification bell on, so you'll be instantly notified when a new video goes live. Also, you can find me on my socials down in the description down below on Twitter and Instagram. Like I said, both in the description down below. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So where do I want to begin with this? So to start this video off, I want to talk about 4 umpires that have caught my attention. 2 of them are veteran umpires. So when it comes to the veteran umpires, we have Hunter Wendelstedt, who's been in the league since 1998. So he's more like the more recent veteran umpire. But when it comes to the actual veteran of the umpiring staff, you got Cowboy Joe West, who at times can be controversial. At times, Phillies fans, you should know who I'm talking about. But Joe West has been in the league since 1976, so he's one of those, true grit umpires. So I've been noticing their strike zones. So I'm on Twitter, at the Twitter account called Umpire Scorecards, and I pulled 4 scorecards for the 4 umpires I'm going to be talking about in today's video: Marvin Hudson, Angel Hernandez, Joe West, and Hunter Wendelstedt. Now, Hunter Wendelstedt is the first guy I want to get into first. So when the Phillies won 12-2, his strike zone was horrendous. So I thought to myself, and it happens. So I looked at his scorecard, so I want to go over. He had a bunch of missed calls. So the 3 ones. The worst missed calls that the umpire scorecards Twitter account gave him is in the bottom of the first, from Eflin to Acuna. The 3-2 count was called a strike, in reality that was a ball outside. Top of the 7th, that was the worst missed call number 2. With the 1-2 count, the strike was called a ball, which that should have been a strike. From the top of the shoulders to the bottom of the part of the knees is the strike zone. Anything out that is pretty much a ball. So, and worst call number 3, it was a 2-2 count, and the ball was called a strike. But yeah, it's a ball. It's a ball about this far outside. And that's the thing too. And so it was going for both sides too. So it's just not a one-sided affair between us and the Braves in Game 1 when we destroyed them 12-2. Hunter Wendelstedt, the average for an umpire for his accuracy is 94%. So he was 88% accurate, which is for me, I think it's below average. The overall favor almost gave Phillies almost a full run overall favor to us at 0.97, plus 0.97, I should say. And his consistency is also below average as well at 86%. So his balls and strike count was very inconsistent. That's what I have to say with Hunter Wendelstedt. Now, let's go with Joe West, who's another guy that most people or most baseball fans would have respect for as long as he's been in the league. But the way that he acts sometimes, especially us against us when we had Jonathan Papelbon, and Phillies fans should know, what happened with that. But that's a whole nother thing. But he also gets, criticized for his strike zone as well at times. He's still below average with his accuracy at 93%, which and this is when he was umpiring the Giants and the Padres game, in which Padres has won 11-1 over the Giants, which is to be expected. The Padres are a good team. So the run So he pretty much he the overall favorite that he went in favor with was the Giants at 0.26, 0.26, I should say. His consistency is average. So before I finish, get into it, if you notice that like the black square, or the square on the screen, that's the true zone, or that's known as the true strike zone. So, and the calls that got criticized for was in the top of the ninth. It was a 2-1 count. The strike was called a ball, which was at the top of the zone, which is right, like about about shoulder, let's say about shoulder length above the letters. And like, how do you, and yeah, let's just say, some, it's ridiculous now how blind umpires are, how bad umpires can be. It's all human error. That's the thing too. It's like, but that's the thing too. Is like, it's just like we're always going to be criticizing umpires for what they're doing. How bad the strike zone is, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, bottom was called number 2. It was a 2-1 count. The strike was called a ball between Paddock to Slater, and yeah, I mean, it's right at the knees. Like, it's a strike. Like I mentioned earlier, from the top of the shoulders to the bottom part of the kneecaps. That's the strike zone. Most people wouldn't realize, is that, it's like, oh, they reframe it at the knees. It's like, they call it a ball. It's like, number one, that's a strike. From my personal experience, anyways. But yeah. So, and call number 3 was the top of the second. It was an 0-0 count. First pitch was called a strike. Or, yeah, it was that's a ball. It was outside the zone. Like, Joe West is not the guys that, him and Hunter Wellen, well, technically, he's one of the 3 umpires that usually get a huge criticism. And that brings me to the next guy that I cannot stand as an MLB umpire, and I'm surprised he still has a job, is Angel Hernandez. Now, baseball fans in general, if you're watching this, I share my same dissent for Angel Hernandez as an umpire. Let's just get that out of the way. So, he was umpiring the Kansas City and the Chicago White Sox, in which the White Sox won in 9-3. His accuracy was average at 94%. Overall favor has gone in favor to the Chicago White Sox for 0.0 plus 0.1 runs, and then his overall that was way above his, and surprising, his above average is. I feel I called, I disagree with that. His overall, if you know what I mean, like, his overall consistency is at 99%, but the average is at 96. So, like, I don't know. So, I want to get down to breaking down the worst missed calls. In the bottom of the 4th, it was a 1-1 count. A ball was called a strike. That's, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, it was a ball, because there's a lot of leeway you can give especially to pitchers and hitters, depending on where the pitch was framed. Sometimes catchers can steal strikes, so that could also play another factor in. Bottom of the 9th, it was an 0-2 count, called a strike, and that was like a little bit so far outside the zone, like it was not even funny. But now we'll go to the top of the 3rd, which is called number 3. It was an 0-1 count, and that was called a strike. So those 3 calls right there should be all three should be called balls, not strikes. Depending on if the catcher can steal the strikes, maybe you could probably make an argument for that, but it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just like Angel Hernandez is one of those guys like people just do not like as an MLB umpire. Like, they also want him to get out of the league because he stinks as an umpire. It's like, yeah, I mean, I can see people's arguments from that perspective. Like, and even from the player's perspective, like, too, like, he does kind of cheats them a little bit. That's just me. That's the way I see it. And then the last guy I want to talk about for today's video is Marvin Hudson for the Phillies and the Braves game on Sunday. Obviously Braves went 6-1. His accuracy was below average at 93%. Overall favor for plus 0.23 runs to us, the Philadelphia Phillies. His overall consistency was way below average at 89%. Now I want to get, like I mentioned in the other three guys I broke down. Now I'm going to be just discussing his worst missed calls. Bottom of the first, it was a 3-1 count, called a strike. Right, like I mentioned earlier, it's at top of the shoulders. Bottom pitch call number 2. It was bottom of the first as well. 1-0 count. Called a strike, which is about thigh high, basically, and that's called a. But still, that was a ball. But it was a borderline call anyway, so you really can't fly. And that's the thing too with umpires, like they have borderline calls. Whether you like it or not, they're going to call it depending on how the catcher frames it. That's all I have to say. But going to the bottom of the fifth for worst call number 3, it was a 2-0 count. It was a ball called a strike. And I'm looking at the graphic right now. It's ridiculous. It's about shin high off the dirt. Like, how do you not even as a hitter, like I would not swing at that because that's in my head, that's a ball outside the zone. But that's all I have for today's video. But if you like the content I'm putting out, make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button with the notification bell on. And I'll see you guys in the next video.